Hi there, I'm Pioneer reporter Jonathan Epley. Today we're going to be talking about the upcoming city election, which is going to be a little bit different than previous years. We're going to take a look at how voters will be casting their votes on November 8th. Joining me here today are City Manager Steve Sobers and City Clerk Roberta Cline. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Due to a conflict with state law, voters will be writing in most of their candidate names this year. Commissioner candidate Tom Hoganson is the only candidate who's going to have his name appear on the ballot.
There will be one name on the ballot, and that will be Tom Hoganson. In terms of mayor, there will only be a place for write-in, and what needs to be done in that case is writers need to write in the name of the individual that they wish to vote for as a write-in, and then also connect the arrow that is next to that blank where they've written the name. And that would be the same with city commissioner. In all, we have 4 city commissioners running, Tom Hoganson, who's on the ballot, and then the 3 write-ins. Voters can only vote for 2. So in that case, again, there will be blank lines if they would like to write for if they would like to vote for a write-in. They have to write the candidate's name and then connect the arrow that is next to the blank that they've written the name in.
So this being a different kind of election where most of the candidates are write-ins, Steve, have you gotten a lot of questions from city residents about how this is going to work out this year?
Actually, not a lot of questions. We have been trying to be pretty aggressive in how we have talked to people as I've gone to church, for instance, in Rotary Club and other places that I've been, so that they do understand that they have to remember the person's name as they go in. I think Roberta will affirm too, if the election board will try to determine intent. So if you for instance have an EN instead of an ON at the end of a name, and they can tell which candidate that person is for, the spelling isn't going to matter. If you completely butcher the spelling, then it's obviously going to matter. But if they can determine with the handwritten legibility that a candidate, that a person wants to vote for that candidate, then it'll be counted. So we've been trying to emphasize that kind of thing as I've been in meetings. And there's some technical questions that voters ask about that, but there hasn't really been a lot of folks who just come up off the street and say, you know, how does this write-in kind of thing work?
All right, and what are the candidates doing to get their name out there, since most of them aren't going to have their names on the ballot?
Well, it's just a campaign season at this point. I know the mayor was in this morning. He commented that he had a kind of a potluck at Nesbitt Fearman Building last night. So I know there's some campaigning going on with the candidates in their various settings. We haven't seen any road signs or yard signs yet. I would expect that some of that will be coming out in the next couple weeks. But there is, I know, a definite interest on the part of the commission members to say you need to write my name in this year. So the advertising is changing. At least it's English dynamic from vote for me to write in for me.
Yeah. And Roberta, will the candidates be able to be at the polling place to remind people before they go in to hey, vote for me, or I need to write my name in this time, it's not going to appear on the ballot?
Election law requires that there be no campaigning at the polls. There is a 100-foot distance away from any entrance into a polling place. Anything beyond that 100-foot, people could campaign, but they're not allowed to be within the actual precinct during election day campaigning.
Okay, Roberta, talk a little bit about how even the people working the polls cannot really talk about who's running and why that is.
Yeah, well that's correct, and that's also election laws. They tell us that at the polls that the election workers cannot provide the names of any write-in people. If someone comes to the poll and is interested in knowing who write-in candidates are, law requires that the election workers tell them that they have to notify the clerk's office. So they will either have to call or come to my office to find out who the candidates are. Those names will not be at the polls posted in any way, nor, like I said, can the election workers provide those names to the voters.
Okay. And Roberta, what will it take for a write-in name on the ballot to be counted? Does it have to be legible? I mean, does it have to have both first and last name of that candidate?
Try to do as you write in, make it as plain as possible, because once again, when it gets to the board of canvassers, they will be the final decision maker. At the end of the election, as the election workers are tallying these, because that's what it will take, will be a manual tally, they will determine the best that they can by looking at it what the intent is for that name. But we do ask people to try to write as legible or print the name so that there's a clear understanding of what their intent is and who they're voting for.
The election is open still to further write-in candidates. When is the deadline for people to file to be a candidate?
Okay, anyone can file an intent for a write-in candidate up until October 28th, 4 o'clock.
Okay.
So it is still open if anyone is interested in being a write-in candidate. They still have that opportunity.
If you have not registered with the clerk's office, then you are not eligible. The write-in name is not eligible to be counted.
That's correct.
So it's both important to know that only the people who have registered will be counted, but you can't just go to the polls on that day and write in anybody's name and think that it's going to be counted, because it will not.
Okay. Now tell me a little bit about absentee ballots.
Those are available at the city clerk's office. A person comes in, first they have to fill out an application for the ballot. Once that's filled out and we can confirm that they are a registered voter on our voter registration list, then we can issue an absentee ballot. And those are available. They can get them through the mail up until the Saturday prior to the election. The day just before the election will be Monday before the election. They can still get one, however, they would have to vote it within our office.
The election is November 8th.
That's correct.
What times are the polls going to be open?
The polls are open from 7 a.m. till 8 p.m. So, and anyone in line as of 8 p.m. would have the opportunity to vote.
Okay. And where are our polling places?
We have 5 polling places. Precinct 1 is the community library. Precinct 2 is at City Hall. Precinct 3 is at Public Safety Building. Precinct 4 is MOISD, and Precinct 5 is Riverview School.
Mm-hmm. And voters can check with the clerk's office to find out which precinct they need to vote.
Definitely. If they don't know, we will be glad to give them that information.
Okay. And then this question is open to both of you. What kind of turnout can we expect to see this year? Higher than average because it's a write-in candidate or write-in election, or what are you expecting?
That's so difficult to say. Right now, I could say probably that our absentee ballots are running the same amount as they would be if we did not have the write-in campaign going on. I don't see any more increase or really any more decrease in activity at this time.
Yeah. A write-in election is very difficult. I've been involved in at least one other one in the community I'm in, and it's just difficult. People really have to educate themselves, because when they walk into the polls, they have to remember the person's names that are running, and there's nobody there to help them. So, and off-year elections, as this one is, usually does not encourage major voter turnout. So, if we have, I don't know, maybe Roberta remembers what the last local election was. I would guess somewhere in probably the 10% range of people who turned out,
which is, to be honest with you,
which is sad, and I would be surprised that the write-in portion generates any more excitement for people, to come out and vote because they get to write a name in than if they were printed.
Well, I'd like to thank you both for being here today. This has been very informative for all our voters out there. All of us here at the Pioneer, we want to remind voters to get out and vote on November 8th for 1 candidate for mayor and 2 candidates for city commission. And as always, for more information on the upcoming city election, please visit www.bigrapidsnews.com.